all-in potential with Hung in that bottom side, but also when we talked about these chaotic fights, Tristana can thrive in because she's got that jump reset to maneuver around all these spread out skirmishes.
See what they want to go for, exactly like you called it. RA locking in the Tristana for iBoy. It can technically go to FoFo, but I would definitely like to see iBoy on it a little bit more. Now, EDG, what do you want to go for? You got a couple of different options here. You could lock in the Rell, Alistar, you could lock in the Kaisa, you could lock in the Lillia as they're hovering and locking in right now. So they're already saying, right, we want to go for those big kind of team fight sleeps, or at the bare minimum, we want to try and keep you guessing as to where our top and mid are going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, look, there's a lot of facilitators here for this Lillia when you look towards the Alistar, when you look towards the Rell, as you talked about. I kind of feel like right now, though, that they should be looking to solidify that support. On this next rotation, then, they look towards their AD carry, and then you've set yourselves up quite nicely. On the upside here for Ori, the very quick lock-in of the Nocturne. So, this is actually a big flex pick, because we've seen it from FoFo, we can see it go up towards Cube. We saw that we've had some top laners in the LPL pick that up, has obviously been Whippo over in the LEC who's played that as well. So I think you've got a lot of maneuverability here, and that guessing could throw a wrench into the works for a Scout here.
Yeah, honestly, that guessing just kind of keeps you kind of looking at your options right now. Of course, Scout's having some of the best games that I've probably seen him play in a very, very long time. But you've got the Tristana, the Rell, and the extra global pressure of something like a Nocturne. Like, the reason why we're seeing so much of it is that global pressure, be it a Nocturne, a Twist of Fate, anything, having that option available to you to be able to jump on something like a Lillia or a Kaisa to be 100-0 them is just something you have to respect.
While building pretty tanky as well, right? Because you end up seeing them like Stride Breaker in towards the Sterix gauge, so a good amount of survivability from the Nocturne, and whether it's mid and you get this massive roaming pressure, or if you're even that top lane Nocturne, ult first, TP later, and then you're able to disguise where you're coming in as this Nocturne, throws a lot of chaos into these fights. So, alright, looking to thrive in the darkness, as EDG now looking to ban away things like the Shogat, and things that can deal very well with the short range composition. So could easily end up going towards something like a Gragas in this top lane for Flandre, and oh sorry, the Gragas is banned, but something along these short range top laners for Flandre that can have a big impact in the flanks, which is where Flandre has kind of made a name for himself in these team fights.
And we can see Orianna banned away, one of Scout's signature champions of the split. I think it's been something that we have had plenty of highlight reels for him on that particular champion. Now the Karthus banned away. I love this ban. The thing we always see when the Renekton, or sorry, not the Renekton, excuse me, the Nocturne is picked in, the Karthus can pair with it because you then have double global pressure. It's so annoying.
Yeah, and the thing is, it makes for such an easy combo, right? It's press or, right, let's go. And you then don't have a AD carry, you don't have a mid laner. It becomes very difficult to deal with. So I like this adaptation from EDG. We'll have to see what RA decide to go with and where this Nocturne is going to be found. I mean, honestly, you're looking at a little bit of a pinch jungle pool here for RA, and I'm wondering what they are going to eventually go with here. Maybe the Olaf or something along these lines, but still a lot of questions here for that side.
See what EDG want to go. Looks like they might want to keep their mid lane pick to be the counterable one. They want to know exactly where this Nocturne's going. Yes, the Nocturne into Sion is not great for the Sion, but he can survive. He's never going to be 100-0. But maybe they go towards the Jayce. They do, so they're looking for, again, more flexibility in this draft.
That's the big one. You can still move this Jayce to mid if you want to for Scout. He has played this in the past, whereas also keeping that for Flandre. And I was only talking to Lyric yesterday. I honestly think Flandre is one of the best Jayce tops that we have. He's absolutely insane. Almost every time we've seen him get these solo kills, he is nutty on this pick.
See if he's able to make anything happen for his side. Of course, alright, taking their sweet time now to decide the last two picks. They're going to be going blind either way. It doesn't really kind of help them out that such. They are going to take away the Sion that EDG did decide not to go for in the end. They've got a little bit more front line to jump in with the Rell, maybe something that can, deal with that kind of stuff. If they go with the Sylas, I would actually prefer it to the Syndra, because the Sylas is something that can just become that nuisance in the mid lane. If he's able to get those roams off, we can see just how oppressive it can be.
I'm curious, because like alright, right now they have a pretty nice composition that can play this front to back style. It looks like it will be actually Leyan piloting the Nocturne, the jungle, which different again to the lane Nocturne that we've seen, but will be slightly under level, but can still do a lot from this jungle in relative to the laners. The big thing though is this front to back, where you have Leyan trying to assassinate on towards the back line, cause a little bit more chaos, and hoping to draw attention so the Syndra and also this Tristana can just delete the relatively squishy team that we're seeing coming out from EDG.
Very squishy, very high damage. If the EDG can keep RA at an arm's length where they can never really get that engage off with the Rell, the Nocturne goes in by himself basically and he's just kind of isolated, EDG run away with this. But on the other side of that coin, if RA get on top of this team, like, you have no health bars to survive. Even something like a Syndra, which hasn't looked amazing considering the new items that have come out to kind of help a couple of different people, it's still something that got 100-0 a team.
Yeah, look, I can agree with you with the EDG thing. It's just very difficult too, because as we talked about, like, that Stride Breaker build coming through from the Nocturne gives you great jump potential. You've got really good follow-up coming through from the Syndra, Rell, Sion, for the slow that Stride Breaker will provide. So it does become a little bit difficult for for EDG to keep RA at arm's length. It's much more for me when I look towards this EDG composition to try and power through the strengths that they have in lane, certainly through the top for Flandre, through this Azir mid for Scout, see if they can play towards early Rift Heralds and gain this gold lead that they can then use to pilot these team fights a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Both these teams will want to end their regular split with a win. More significant for RA than it is for EDG, of course. And this is where it all kind of comes down. This is where you kind of earn your bread and butter. These are teams that could well see each other in the playoffs. As we jump straight onto the Rift, RA versus EDG, the last series of the LPL regular split is right around the corner. And here we are, jumping straight in. RA, EDG. I'm waiting for the Jiejie.
I know, they're coming. Where are they?
Yeah.
Where is it?
I'm waiting. It's very tense, very, very tense. And there they are. Is that Leyan? He gets his own one. Leyan on the Nocturne, you get your own one there. I love how for the RA one, it started off with this, like, you know, very soft, kind of like, you know, RA, and then some random dude for EDG just like, no! I do love that. That's one of the few beautiful kind of, like, you know, unique things we get in the LPL. The Jiejie is very much a thing that the only really happen here. I think we're the only, yeah, we are the only league right now with a crowd right now.
Yeah,
so yeah, you got that going for us. But coming back in, centering around this kind of thing, I'm curious to see now where Leyan takes this Nocturne, because is it going to be a full clear? Is he going to look to try and get some early kind of pressure off Ethan just to help the lanes? That's what we're kind of seeing right now, especially when Jiejie is going to have that very, very quick clear with the Lillia.
I do, look, the big thing here for pretty much both Leyan and Jiejie is a relatively slow-paced early game. And both these guys love to try and farm up towards level 6. Nocturne specifically really relies on that level 6. And when you're trying to get these early advantages as Nocturne, it's all revolving about how quickly you can hit that ultimate and how effective you can use it. Now, there's plenty of lanes that you can try and work with. Certainly FoFo in the mid lane can try and set up with maybe a stun. But I think when you've got Hung and iBoy on this all-in kill lane and bot side, going towards the bottom lane, turning that level 6 in towards kills for iBoy is going to be the big thing for EDG right now. Or sorry, for RA right now.
Too many teams. Too much history. But yeah, I completely agree. We actually saw a little bit of a bad trade from Hong on the bot side. Didn't really get what he wanted to do. Just got caught out straight away. And again, that's what we've seen when the Rell and the Alistar kind of go up against each other. It's kind of who you know, pulls out first realistically, like who pulls out the gun first, because it's very easily counterable with the, you know, the pulverize and the headbutt as well from Alistar. And on the opposite side of that, you try to get in as the Alistar, you've got the repel and retract to just basically keep everything going. So it's about how you make these advantages happen for you that really are going to change it. As I say that, they flash straight in on top of Meiko, who has got himself a flash of his own, will almost go down, but they had to use the flash there from Meiko to keep him alive. They did use iBoy's heal as well, though.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one for both junglers, but they've actually run into each other on this top side. FoFo spent a heap of mana and health to try and keep control in mid, as Flandre actually able to come down first.
Yeah, Flandre had the push in onto the Sion. Cube not really going to be able to kind of keep that one going for themselves. But this is our scuttle now. And Leyan takes his prize. And now, with the pressure they have bot side, they might be able to do it again. Look at him go.
I was going to say, I don't think the Scuttle Crab has ever seen as much as this one before the Rift. But expanding his horizons, bringing new views, taking a couple of the photos back to the family.
Oh my god.
Leyan, wow.
Oh, there he is. Okay. Leyan just about sees out where Jiejie is going. But I do like that. It just means that he knows exactly where the jungle's pathing.
And this gives the double scuttle to Leyan as well. Nice play coming through from FoFo in the support, and it does give him this head start towards that level 6 that we're talking about. Now, Jiejie can continue to rapidly clear through this jungle, but certainly a nice advantage in the early stages for Leyan, and powering off of this bot side advantage that Hung and iBoy have got for themselves.
So explosive in this bot side. You cannot discount just how much damage and CC can come down with the Tristana and the Rell. And you saw it there, Meiko, even with the Aftershock, he's still a very, very squishy boy.
I want to take a look, though, at like the Aure's composition versus the way Aure play, right? Because when we talk about, hey, look, you know, what's a book, essentially, for Aure, when we're talking about how they play, very spread out, a lot of skirmishes. This is a composition that, yes, Leyan can thrive in these skirmishes, but certainly, like, FoFo prefers front to back, Hung prefers to be able to get multiple members with his ultimate as well, and certainly Cube as well likes to be able to control zone with the decimating smashes with his own ultimate as well. So if you end up with these massive all over the place skirmishes, it becomes very easy for EDG to outplay them with the amount of damage that they have and the skirmish style that like the Azir can bring really well, Jiejie can bring really well, Flandre as well thrives in. So honestly, I think that like Aure right now need to play a very different style from what we've seen previously from them and actually find these more slow-paced front-to-back fights, obviously with Leyan being the one exception to that rule.
If you're looking for skirmishes, though, Nocturne is definitely someone who can create that. The paranoia, of course, gives you short-sightedness, so it makes the entire rift go down. It's very annoying when you try and take a ward or something like that, and you're trying to kill it off, and they pop down the ultimate. As we can see, Cube taking a fair bit of damage on top of himself. He did have to use the unstoppable onslaught, or sorry, the unstoppable force to keep him from getting 100-0'd by Flandre. As we can see, good flash from FoFo. Scout keeping him honest in this mid lane, and that's why Scout is kind of, as I said, been playing some of the best League of Legends of his life. He's able to make these things happen.
But this is the thing. Jiejie wasn't there. That was a bluff by Scout that FoFo answered. Now Jiejie, with this Predator, can wrap in behind FoFo, and Leyan is called around here to make sure that FoFo can crash this wave without any sort of funny business happening.
See, Leyan, he really wants level 6. He's so close. He's literally 1 or 2 minions away, or even half a camp away. He's going to go back. So see him pinging down there. He knows he can get level 6 very, very soon, and that's where he can start to become a little bit of a monster now.
Yeah, but watch. Look at the vision from EDG right now in this topside jungle. Flandre's placed the pink, JJ's placed the pink as well. If you so much as try and move into this topside as Leyan, having access to that ultimate, you're going to be spotted. So this is why Meiko and Viper playing very honest on bot side, making sure that you can't go for these engages. And then you've got Flandre who's like, I know I'm safe to keep pushing in on top.
Well, Paranoia is now available, and something that you talk about Nocturne is first ultimate's very, very key. It's kind of where do you want to try and focus, and if it doesn't really work out, yes, you've got the Ionian Boots of Lucidity, but you haven't got a huge amount of options then for the next, say, even 2 minutes or so. It's quite a long cooldown, and see now where he wants to go with this. FoFo roaming into this bot side river to make sure that those wards are cleared, but I don't think there's much place here for Leyan to make anything happen just yet.
No, and again, this comes down to EDG painfully aware of where Leyan is in the map. They know he's in this bot side. That's why JJ's sticking around towards this bot side as well. We're curious to see if he tries to make some sort of play happen just to, as iBoy and Hung are pushing in. Looks like he may actually start to rotate down to this bot side to make sure that Leyan is clear.
Oh, Hung needs to be a little bit careful. Jiejie knows he's not been spotted just yet. iBoy does get himself out, but they do get flash in, and the lilting lullaby as well. They're going to jump straight in on top of him. First blood goes over to Viper.
And gorgeous from Jiejie again. Like EDG have relied on Jiejie to try and catch out and make sure that he's keeping track of the opponent jungler. And this time he's like, right, I know Leyan has been drifting around this bottom side for a while. He's going to start to move top, and I can make these plays happen.
Oh, no flash now for FoFo means that Scout's able to get the shuffle back, but no flash for Jiejie means he can't really follow up. And not knowing exactly where Leyan was, they did see him a few minutes ago on that pink ward, which he just cleared. They had to respect it.
This is a bit greedy from Leyan. If Jiejie spots this, could actually turn around because Flandre is in a position, and looks like that's exactly what they're going to do.
Yeah, he's going to give up on his Raptor camp, but Sion is here as well. This could end up being, and look, Rell is here as well, so this is actually a 3v2, goes in favor of RA. There is the unstoppable movement here from Cube. Doesn't quite get anything, forced to flash away as they had got Meiko jumping in on the Alistar. They still get themselves the Rift Herald, and that will be important for RA to get that tempo.
Big win for RA. Now, obviously, a bit of flash is burnt for Cube in that, but certainly being able to secure that early Rift means you can throw this down towards bot side, get that gold in towards iBoy, and maybe look towards a dragon for yourself off that play as well. But right now, a bit of a slower paced game, and even though we've got one kill going the way of EDG, RA are still keeping it just with their arm's reach of 100 gold being the big difference.
See how this all went down at bot side. And I think for iBoy, he knows he stepped a little bit too far forward, so he doesn't even expend any of his summoners right now. He just kind of says, if I can get out, I get out. If not, I'm dead.
Yeah, and look, I like the flash here from Jiejie as well. Like, you still had iBoy having his own flash available. If you don't commit the flash there as Jiejie, you won't be able to hit with the Shillelagh and you won't be able to get that slumber. So, nice job from EDG's jungler to make sure they got the kill onto iBoy.
First blood and first advantage goes over to the side of EDG, but like we said, the first Rift Herald was taken by the side of RA, and now it's important to know where they're going to use this one, because they need to find a lane where they can maybe get a kill with the Nocturne Paranoia and then turn it into multiple different plates, if not even a tower.
Yeah, I want to see a bot side. I mean, the Paranoia using that last skirmish didn't really net anything. EDG trying to see if they can catch out FoFo. Emperor's Divide and Flash are available versus FoFo being down a summoner spell, but they will back away. But again, like, if I'm RA, it's all about iBoy here. He's going to be the main source of damage. Leyan can cause issues, but he won't be the one that's going to win this game out for me. On EDG's side, though, as we talked about, like, a lot of carries, a lot of damage. They are trying to see if they can find some creative ways to set up these plays where they're able to find nice skirmishes for themselves and not just give RA these easy top-rate fights with Cube and Hung playing front line.
I'm loving the fact that they're just 100% saying exactly where Leyan is going. The flash forward with Flandre to get the knockback actually doesn't work out because now he's going to be feared the other way, so he cannot follow up on that. And then Flandre's got on the backside of this. Leyan might just drop the Rift Herald here.
I would hate it if he did, because honestly, like, what do you care? Sion having extra gold doesn't really do anything, and Leyan's going to get that gold regardless. So I think it is more so just, look, let's just try and make a play here and try and get onto Flandre.
They're going to jump straight on top of him because they know he has no flash, nowhere to go.
Wait.
Leyan does get himself in, and the Cube who picks up the kill. Yes, you're getting more gold into the Sion, but you're also getting it into the Nocturne.
I mean, Nocturne's going to get that anyway. This tower going down isn't going to do much except maybe create a really long lane for Cube where he can't do much. So I still would have preferred to see this used mid or bot side as Cube now. Sleepy time.
Lilting Lullaby hasn't been used just yet. Needs to be very careful though, Jiejie. He's looking to try and catch them out. Yeah, there's the Lilting Lullaby. He knows he's a little bit susceptible to the zombie form, and Ness just gonna backside of the Shillelagh, get himself out. They get a lot of gold onto the Sion, onto the Nocturne. The one thing I will say is that it's better to take the opportunity once it appears in front of you than to never get the other opportunity that you wanted.
I still think they would have. Like, iBoy has full push power on bot side, and it's not really much Viper and Meiko can do just with the inherent pushing ability Tristana has. You could have definitely collapsed on towards that bot side, and it's a bit of wasted gold, I think. But honestly, iBoy's doing a great job in this bottom lane anyway. Kraken Slayer already completed, and despite that initial kill going across, he's still keeping himself topped up.
It's actually a little bit of a gold lead here for RA after picking up those 4 plates in that top side. They're able to kind of, despite being a kill down, they are about 400 or 500 gold ahead. Can they push in anything else? This will be a nice moment here for RA to make something happen in spot side. Like I said, Kraken Slayer has been completed here for iBoy. So Viper very much at a you know, kind of combat disadvantage, if you will. And iBoy actually has a sweeper, so he's really trying to figure out where this, you know, vision is right now in the early stage.
I love this. ADG, we talked about how they love these bot lane skirmishes. That sweeper just prevents all of these TP wards from being there and allowing Flandre and Scout the opportunity to get down towards this bottom side. When we look towards EDG, though, we're kind of talking about the skirmishes and, you know, needing people to follow up on engages and that. Well, I see Jiejie has gone towards this Sonya's Hourglass, so he's going to be looking to follow up on Meiko and see if they can find those, you know, 2 to 3 people all locked up, all being burst down by Flandre, Viper, Scout, following up on this big engage tool that we talked about between the Lillia and the Alistar.
One thing, though, when you feed a Sion is Jayce doesn't get to decide what happens in this lane anymore. You're actually denying a lot of CS and gold here to the Jayce, so that poke damage is not really going to be anywhere near it. You can see there a couple of half items versus a completed Turbo Chem Tank and a Bramble Vest, so it becomes very difficult for Flandre in this top side to make anything happen.
Well, the biggest thing here is that, like, it's not the actual damage from Cube, it's that Cube is so tanky, you can always look for the dive from Leyan, and right now, EDG don't have a track on Leyan. He is starting to teeter his way down towards this bottom side just to give a little bit of a respite for iBoy and Tongue and allow them to reset here.
The only really kind of wards they have down are a couple of pinks, one very, very deep in their own jungle and the other one is on the river. So again, like you said, not really knowing exactly where anyone is on the side of RA, trying to see if they can get a tab back onto Leyan. And I was actually going to say that one of the big things that EDG have done very, very well so far this game was keeping track of where Leyan was going, seeing where he was starting, seeing if he could go for anything crazy, so that every single time he tried to go for something, he was just sitting on a ward, or at bare minimum, they knew roughly where he was because of the other wards.
What I need to see here from EDG is like how well they can bypass the crowd control from RA and that front line. Like with Cube and Hung here, we're going to look towards a fight of this Rift Herald in just a few moments, and if you can have EDG coming in from multiple different angles, like there's no way that Cube can block up like Flandre's damage, plus Scout's damage, plus Viper trying to get in towards the backside as well. But it looks like actually RA, they're not going to commit to this. They're going to just look to go towards this dragon in 30 seconds instead.
Yeah, they want to try to stop the stacking right now, make sure they get one into their last minute. It would be nice as well for the Nocturne to be able to get that extra little bit of CDR onto his ultimate.
We're looking at a potential dive here on bot side though. Now that EDG realize, hang on a second, there's nobody here at Rift Herald, Viper is in danger.
Viper's in danger, Meiko's in danger as well. Has to pop the Unbreakable Will to keep himself tanky, and they still have yet to really commit anything from the side of RA. So EDG, you kind of have to back away from this. I don't really think you can kind of look for this unless Scout TP's in, but even then, that's a risk.
I think you're okay though. I mean, I'm happy as EDG to trade Cloud Dragon, pretty negligible for our comp. Like, we're more interested in stacking either the Infernal or the Mountain on the next rotation. And you still got the safety here as Scout. Yes, FoFo can come and join, but underneath the tower included, alright, don't get anything else. So I actually like this play from EDG. I think they're trading up in the manner that they need to.
There's going to be an Infernal Soul popping in. You're definitely someone who want that if you're Leyan right now. It would do wonders for EDG, just those extra little bit of things. And with Jiejie now popping up towards this top side, they should be able to take down this turret. While that's all happening, Meiko tries to go in onto iBoy, but again, it's so difficult to lock down this combination of Rell and Tristana. There's so many disengages and so many ways that you can just be CC'd as you go in.
Yeah, and that's the big one, is iBoy will have a lot of flexibility in these fights, but he still needs to make sure that he's staying safe from a lot of the poke that can come out, as we talked about from Flandre, Jiejie, even Viper, and Scout to a certain extent as well. As we start to crest the 60-minute mark, though, and it's looking a little bit slow, I just want to take a quick second to, like, check in on where we're kind of at, because we're looking at FoFo, and the problems that we're starting to see with Syndra creep into things is, against an Azir, she does need to go for this verdant barrier, especially when you've got Jiejie on this Lillia as well. So much more defensive build path, but it does stop her spikes. So when we're looking at the damage rotation that can come out from RA, very heavily attributed in towards armor right now, or sorry, attack damage right now, and Leyan and iBoy having big impacts in these fights. So if I'm EDG, specifically Jiejie and Meiko, I'm eyeing up iBoy with this Kraken Slayer now completed, see if we can close that gap, punish some of the mistakes that we've seen from iBoy in the past when it comes to positioning, and close out the fight in that way.
Everyone posturing right now just around this top side, or sorry, excuse me, bot side of jungle in the side of RA, and it was all over a couple of wards, and then everyone takes everyone else's wards, so no one really gains anything from that. Defensive vision from RA has been put down, the aggressive vision from EDG has been cleared. You can see they're putting down a lot of pings onto this red buff, and you can see the Lillia on the mini-map there. Jiejie just roaming in, trying to see if he can get a bit more and more of a nuisance. As everyone's kind of roaming down for this.
One of the big things for EDG, though, is because we've had a slower pace game, their mid to late game shot calling hasn't been that great. And I'm a bit worried now that when we start to teeter towards, you know, the 25 to 30-minute mark, which we will inevitably get to in this game, how do EDG find these team fights? Now, in the past, it has been a bit of a miscommunication between Flandre and Meiko that have caused these issues. With Meiko being the sole engaged tool, it might make things a little bit easier with Jiejie following up, but certainly I want to see how this style of EDG works when they're not just snowballing this game out of control through Flandre on this Jayce or through these TP plays onto the bottom side.
Well, Leyan, or the Luden's Tempest, excuse me, has been finished up for the side of FoFo alongside the Leandri's Anguish on Scout on the other side. So you can start to see a couple of mythics being picked up here now, bit by bit by bit, as everyone starts to try and just, you know, filter out around the map, pick up the waves. No one really wants to be fighting right now. Everyone just kind of wants to continue to gather themselves some gold and then move towards that dragon in 2 minutes' time.
Man, we are addicted to slow games over the last 2 days.
I'm telling you, it's
I mean, we
were
actually kind of like, hang on a second, LPL's going so quick. We're finished early every single night.
They're making up for all the time that went by so quickly.
However, Rift Herald is popped to mid lane. 1.5 minutes till Dragon, so we'll potentially get a lot of damage on towards this mid lane structure as
Hong just flashes in straight away, gets the attract and repel as well. There you can see the paranoia working wonders of just separating everybody out. Meiko will not fall though, but it does mean that this Rift Herald is basically null and void.
Yeah, will manage to stop that charge. A lot invested though from RA's side of things. Now, with a minute until the Dragon, a lot of those ultimates will be back up off cooldown, but Hung not having that flash is a pretty big engage tool, especially if EDG, as we talked about, can set up multiple different angles of attack, with Flandre poking Scout, poking Viper, even with the the Void Seeker trying to make plays happen as Viper.
Yeah, no one able to get on top of him. They know there's no ultimate there from the Sion, so he doesn't have to burn any of his summoners. Actually, excuse me, he already burnt his flash, so he doesn't have that one. I still think for Hong, if that's, you know, kind of worth it for you, the fact that yes, your engage is very limited, but all it takes then is for Leyan to be able to jump on top of Viper for them to be able to panic around the backside.
I mean, there is still a lot of peel there on the EDG side for Leyan. Like, I'm looking towards Scout, right? If he can try and help out there, even Meiko can help out. The flash being burnt on Viper isn't too much, and especially when we look towards Viper, who's been so smart with how he plays team fights, how he goes for engages, or like even tosses out that killer instinct. I'm not worried about Viper in a lot of senses because he's just been so on point when it comes to how he plays team fights.
EDG are a little bit separated here. You can see Scout was just kind of sent to split push duty, just popped down the Shrima's Legacy, and Meiko still yet to get his Unbreakable Will. We'll have it very, very shortly. The mid lane priority does belong, as of right now, to RA. So they're the ones that get themselves into the river. The Dragon has spawned. The Scatterweed lands onto Jiejie, so he gets taken a chunk down on top of him. They have used themselves a Scryer's Orb, and everyone's just kind of backing away. I don't feel like EDG want to fight this.
Yeah, this is where it gets dangerous for EDG, where you can, as we say, set up this very easy front-to-back stall. Leyan can threaten at any point in time to follow up, and that's not where EDG want to be. They want to be the ones that are in control, using the fact that they've got this, like, the poke that can come through from Jayce. Even if you can get this, like, big wombo combo between Meiko and Jiejie, you still need to have the rest of the team in the correct position to follow up. With Hung playing kind of keep away and a very defensive setup coming through from RA, you're not given the opportunity for EDG to do it.
EDG versus RA is a very close affair. There is nothing in the difference in terms of gold. The Dragon is the only real kind of discernible advantage you have now for RA. iBoy needs to be a little bit careful from those accelerated shock blasts. They go straight in now. There is a killer instinct here for Viper, and that keeps him alive. Trying to capitalize on the lack of flash on the EDG AD carry, and these shock blasts, you need to kind of back away from them. You need to be dodging them, or this poke will start to stick.
Exactly. If RA are not all together, it becomes very easy for EDG to try and take these. And Sieges, as you can see, great for EDG as Meiko trying to see if he can get onto Leyan, but we'll get this mid lane tower regardless, just with the low health bars on RA.
Yeah, they hadn't got time to reset after the Dragon. They hadn't really got themselves in a position, and they were just getting poked down bit by bit by bit. You could see there the Void Seekers as well as the accelerated shock blasts. They were doing so much to just really whittle down those health bars, and we're starting to get now 2 items onto everybody. You can see there on RA, you got 2 items onto your Sion. He's a very beefy boy. His frontline access is going to be a lot harder to break down than it was a couple of minutes ago. You've also got now a Randuin's Omen for this Nocturne, again looking to slow down that Kaisa.
I will say though, there's a lot of ways for EDG to try and play this out through side lanes, because when you look towards Flandre, obviously he can just get that very quick push and not have to worry too much about like Cube closing the distance. He's got that acceleration gate to move away. Same with Scout in the side lane. Azir way safer than Syndra in a side lane. So if EDG can push these waves in and look to outman in mid.
There we go, jumping straight in on top of Meiko and on top of Viper, but they are going to be able to turn this one around pretty quickly. Leyan goes too far forward and goes down. The Lilting Lullaby lands on the 2 as EDG are the ones who are now taking the fight. RA, you went for a pick, but there's nothing you can do, and that's going to be 4 quick kills now for the side of EDG, and they're turning straight to Baron.
Yeah, but Scout is not done!
Scout gets the shuffle, and he gets the ace. Scout, you madman!
Manages to get that kill, manages to get that clean ace, and EDG will manage to get this Baron. And just like that, this game is cracked open for EDG.
And you can see there, Hong tries to go for something. Viper still has all his summoners. They just didn't quite get on top of the Kaisa, and they lose everything. Now you get the reset. Now you got yourself a 4,000 gold lead, and now everything is up for EDG.
Again, though, great play from Viper here, just eking away out from Hong's engage. And honestly, this play was way too close to the tower. Ore all trying to congregate, but you have Flandre who's coming in on the flank. You've got Scout as well, who's able to provide so much damage alongside Viper from relative safety here. And when you've got all your engage tools down, it opens up EDG to play so aggressive because they know at this point there's just nothing left.
I need to see that again if I'm ever able to. I might look at the VOD. I think he uses a soldier to pop his Banshee's fail. So he's guaranteed, as he's going in, it's insane. Now with 1:25 until this Dragon is spawned, Meiko jumps in. It's all action all the time. Now we can see Leyan jumping in. He's going to get 2-man sleep on top of that one. Paranoia as Hong uses the Magnet Force to keep everybody away. He will keep himself dead in the grey screen to keep his team alive. Cleanse burnt by Viper as he's just putting down the damage onto iBoy. Jumps straight back in onto the backside and takes out both carries. EDG gift Viper a triple kill, and there's nothing that RA can do. EDG are just too far ahead.
Viper's a monster, man. Every time I watch this guy, I just bow at his feet. It's just insane to watch, and I love how EDG played that, using that choke so damn well, and Ore knew it. If Leyan tries to go in aggressive over and use that Paranoia, well, they can just separate Ore so well with the Emperor's Divide. There's no way Cube or anyone else can follow up, and EDG play that perfectly. That's just really smart positioning in this fight.
That was insane. You can see just why we're always so damn impressed with Viper. This guy coming into this fight is just monstrous.
But watch where they fight, right? This choke is disastrous for it. Because if Leyan goes in here using that Paranoia, you get the Emperor's Divide from Scout, which completely barricades that choke point, and EDG can deal with the 2 members of Hong and Leyan who would have been in that river. So Leyan backs away, he has no real way into this fight, and the entire time EDG are just playing perfectly around this little choke point.
They get themselves their second Drake there, of course, when the replay was running. They are now 8,000 gold ahead. They still have the Baron for another 30 seconds. RA, they're running out of options right now. Leyan can't go in. He's just not been able to find the purchase with these Paranoias because everyone else on his side of RA just can't follow him up.
And look, you've got no inhibitor turret here for RA, so EDG are free to push in. Flandre is keeping things busy on the bottom side of the map as well, so EDG can just rotate across to him. Hung, not having flash, means he can't even look for this Hail Mary engage in the 4v5.
Yep, there's the inhibitor dropping down. iBoy takes about half his HP bar away with a 1 accelerated shock blast. There's the second inhibitor turret dropping in the bot side, and now we might see maybe the final fight. But you can see there, Sion, yeah, you're tanky, but you're only so tanky when an 8,000 gold wallet is smacking you in the face. 2 inhibitors dead, and they're not done.
Now they're looking to close this one out. Resets coming through from RA. This could be a bit risky for EDG, but Scout is forced to jump away.
Yeah, one Nexus turret. Leyan gets jumped on by Meiko. They still have pretty good health bars, and this is where they start to get a little risky for EDG. You can get the resets pretty quickly here, but they're going to be able to get a full reset off and get this tower. So no Nexus turrets will survive this push. There's a scatter of the week. It lands on the Flandre, but there's too much damage. There's too much poke. Leyan can't even stay out for longer than he can. Flash in from Hung. He gets the Appel to track to try and keep everyone down, but again and again, we're seeing they just cannot keep the damage going. They do take down Viper. Big shutdown there for him on iBoy. The flash away from Scout's Emperor's Divide is just not good enough for RA to stay in this game. EDG in 28.5 minutes will end this game, take 1-0 in the series, and really are looking good.
So stylish from EDG. A slow early game, but when it got to the mid game, EDG collapsed perfectly on RA's engagement in mid, turned the game in their favor, and once they have control, EDG did not let up. 2 quick fights into one in front of the Nexus will net them game 1.
And it just turned on. Like, it was like, all right, we're kind of getting a little bit ahead, the early game skirmishes, laning phase, and then the big thing that we talked about as a weakness for EDG, the mid to late game shot calling. 100% short up in that game. Now, I hope it's not just a blip on the radar, and I hope it's consistent throughout the entirety of the postseason, but that was clean right at the end there. And again, I'm just so damn impressed with how Scout and Viper are playing in these team fights. Every single time, they're just setting themselves up for success. And it's not even as if they're just waiting for someone else to do the work. Multiple times we saw the Emperor's Divide be the game difference. Multiple times we saw Viper just seeing that instant moment and popping himself into the back line. It's just incredible.
And that's what we talked about coming into this, right? Was how good Viper can be on picks like the Kaisa, like holding that killer instinct for so long. His position in fights was impeccable. Like in that very first fight that we got in the mid lane, it was Viper just barely eking out away from Hung's engage. That meant that you got RA overextended, the TPs come in from EDG and they're ready to go. And it's these little things that EDG are able to pick out, those individual differences that make EDG second place in the LPL right now.
Yeah, honestly, it's even crazy to think they are second place, you know? It's one of those kind of teams where you're kind of like, how are they not first? And then we see how stacked we are pretty much from the top down, and it's just honestly so impressive. But for RA, there are moments for it. I liked what they tried to do. You can see in the kind of early game, they tried to make some stuff happen, but once Leyan realized he could literally do absolutely nothing, almost like actually did do less damage than the Alistar, the Nocturne pick became mute.
Yeah, and I don't blame Leyan here. It's just the fight in mid lane where RA took meant that Leyan was kind of just useless. The second fight that we saw in that river area, EDG played it perfectly, using that choke so damn well, and it was right from Leyan not to go for the follow-up engage because he just would have been separated and died anyway. And I think this is where the difference is from EDG, is they can be such an intelligent team as to when and how they take these engagements, whereas we could see from RA a lot of the time it was kind of like, hey look, we're all in an area, let's throw things at the wall and see if they stick. And oftentimes EDG were ready, flash away from some of the carries, repositioning great coming through from Scout and Viper just to avoid a lot of these issues.
Yeah, honestly, we talked about it at the start of the game, or the start before game 1 went in. It's, buy the book versus what book, and EDG took that book and just smacked RA across the face when it was like, that book. And it was just like, again, very, very smart League of Legends coming out from EDG, knowing the team fight, and again, shoring up that small weakness that we talked about, how we were worried about them in their team fights. That looked so good from pretty much everyone across the board. I think everyone did their job very, very well, and I don't think you could be really unsatisfied with pretty much how anyone played those.
Yeah, and I think coming back in towards game number 2, I don't think we'll see this Nocturne. Obviously, they were trying to go, hey, flexibility, let's go, and it was just like, yeah, no, it didn't really work.
I don't mind seeing the Nocturne. I just don't think you should wait, as you mentioned when we talk about picks and bans, waiting for your jungle pick to go that far down the draft, because it did feel a little bit like, yes, the Nocturne is a flex, but it just didn't really 100% fit with the flex they wanted. I feel like the Karthus or something else might have been a little bit better for them.
It did feel like it was kind of like shoehorned in, because it was like, like I like Nocturne in dive compositions where I've got like Kaisas and Tristanas. Cool, yeah, that works well, but the rest of the team wasn't really quite there. Like Syndra doesn't facilitate that dive incredibly much. Same when you look towards a Sion, like you can run in, but it's not really gonna like facilitate that as well as some of our other top laners that you could have gone for. So I honestly think that in the grand scheme of things, we need to see a mix up in the draft when it comes from RA.
Well, we'll see if they do mix it up. We're going to send it to a quick break. When we return, Game 2 of EDG versus RA.